What a week. Excellent, excellent programming. It's just been so great to be here, and I'm excited to talk with you and Jay about what we heard and learned.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about, there's a tweet that Morton sent, I think yesterday, that I've been thinking about a lot today as everybody sharing their stories. He said, membership in news is a business model that couldn't possibly succeed without a deep and selfless wish across cultures to share learnings. Considering the nature of media, this certainly takes sharing as caring to the next level. And I've been thinking about that because the summit would not have happened if all of these newsrooms and individuals didn't come and share what they're learning. And the thing that I've been struck by, I think the most, is how many people do what Javier just shared, which is, here's a thing that we got wrong, and this is what we learned from it. And I'm telling you so that you don't make the same mistake, and you can sort of learn from what we experienced. And I think like the way that newsrooms have shared all their sort of not just successes, but also mistakes along the way has made this a really special conversation.
I think that spirit of generosity is spot on. Since we began this project 4 years ago, that idea of tell us your cautionary tales, tell us your points of hesitation and the things you're hung up on that are keeping you up at night that may not work. And that really extended to interviewing members of these organizations around the globe. I was really shocked compared to any other work that I've done with newsrooms, legacy and startup alike. Member-driven newsrooms members were so much more likely to take the call. We're likely to tell us, this is what stands out about this news organization. This is why this is worth putting my time, energy, and money behind it.
And then there was that time, Emily, when we went to talk to the Texas Tribune's members, and they were the family we were discussing the Tribune with, trying to find out, why are you members of this organization and what are they really supporting when they support it? They talked about an award that the Texas Tribune had won, and they said, we won. And just that use of the word we, nosotros in Espanol, indicated so much about what they felt about the Texas Tribune, that we won. And I don't think that many newspaper subscribers of traditional newspapers say we won when, let's say, the Washington Post wins a Pulitzer. Like, they don't say we won. But in member-driven news organizations that are truly member-driven, that we is real. It's part of that relationship.
I think we saw that with the ambassador conversation yesterday as well, as these members were so invested in the work that the newsrooms were doing that they were willing to go out there and sort of go out to their friends and their family and say, this organization has contributed so much to my life, and you could really help me by joining them and ensuring that they continue to exist to do that work.
I think there's another theme that I sort of saw throughout the week and the newsrooms that we studied. Jacob, in his presentation a few minutes ago, talked about the word vulnerable. Like the way that Zetland exists is a membership program that is vulnerable. And I think that is so critically important. We talked earlier this week about you're not always going to get it right. That's the whole purpose behind the membership try. And I think when you bring members along in your process, when you're fascinated by what they know, when you have to have those vulnerable moments, when you're at fault, you're much more likely to retain their long-term support by having a different way of operating.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna, I think, share a few sort of parting words before we wrap up. So I'm just gonna share my screen for the last time. Last time we're sharing some slides here today. But Jay, you wanna take it away?
Yes, we want to go back to something we shared at the beginning of this journey. Why now is the right time to end Membership Puzzle Project. And I just want to reiterate what we said then, because it's been borne out by what we heard during the summit. The distinction between membership and subscription, which is the founding distinction for MPP, we think is at this point pretty well understood. People who are part of a member-driven news organization know it. And there are strong member-driven newsrooms around the globe in every continent. And one thing that was really striking to me is I don't think you can even argue that the United States is the center of gravity anymore for these experiments. More is being learned around the world than in the US. And that's a really important thing. And that's one of the reasons why we felt this is the time when we could exit from the stage, is that the momentum is there, but it's also international. And we're going to learn from all of the types of organizations that we heard from this week. And so maintaining a single center of gravity, a single research project to try and keep track of it all and present it back to our clientele just doesn't make as much sense anymore. And so that's our message as we begin to leave the stage, that it's your turn now. Membership Puzzle Project is going to live through the actions of the people who learned from it in its first few iterations. So when you teach other news sites what you learned from your experience, you are continuing MPP's work. We already heard several times during this week that this is routine. Jacob Moll talked about how he learned about financial transparency from Republic in Switzerland. We heard that El Faro learned from Daily Maverick. We heard how KPCC documents their work, and so others can learn from it. And that kind of behavior is going to keep the spirit of MPP going, even if the organization itself is sunsetting. And we are confident that this work is going to continue around the world. So that makes us feel good about leaving the stage as well.
And one of the reasons that we think that this sharing was so successful and continued to happen even without MPP as a bridge is because MPP was configured as a public research project. We had a mandate to share back everything that we learned. So every time we spoke to a member of a newsroom, every time we learned from a newsroom that we were giving a grant to about something that worked for them to retain their members, it was sort of built into our DNA that we figured out a way to share that back. And we felt that the need for this information, the challenges that are facing newsrooms when it comes to trust and sustainability are much too serious to be proprietary about this knowledge. Everything that MPP has published is allowed to be republished. And that is, I think, incredibly important for this work traveling outside of the United States. It's been translated into Spanish, Portuguese, French, Arabic, Italian, what other languages? I think Russian, Ukrainian, Emily, any languages that I'm missing? I'm sure I am, but
yeah, we translated it into the language of the newsroom.
That too. But I think one of the things that we want to leave everybody with is for those who are trying to build communities of practice like this, to also invest in documentation and research. It's not just about giving grants to newsrooms to try something. It's also about taking the time to document the things that newsroom is learning. And so we do hope that we see more organizations staff their projects so that they can document that work and conduct research so that they can sort of speed up the tries, speed up the learning that happens in this space. Where do we go from here? As probably everybody knows at this point, MPP comes to a close on August 30th. The Telegram group that we created for the summit will remain open as long as it's being used by people. So please feel free to keep the conversation going there. We're lucky that we'll be able to keep membershippuzzle.org and membershipguide.org live indefinitely, thanks to support from the Lundfest Institute and MDIF. We will continue to make updates to the membership guide for at least the next year. They will happen at a slower pace, but we are keeping the membership guide current. And so please, if you are learning new things that you want to share with others, we will still be reachable for that at info@membershippuzzle.org. So if you are trying something in your newsroom that in a couple months you think you'll be ready to talk about, we'd still love to hear from you at that email address, and you'll hear from someone on the team. And we're really, really grateful to the Membership Puzzle Project coaches, grantees, and partners who are spread around the world and are keeping the work going. And we have just a few of them on the next slides. These are all sort of fellow travelers in the space who we have had the opportunity to work with at some point in time in the last 4 years. The Lundfest Institute, Harkin, Media Development Investment Fund, our current home, in the South Africa Media Innovation Program at the Media Development Investment Fund, Sembra Media in Latin America, Splice in Asia, the Engaged Journalism Community, Gather, the European Journalism Center, Media Party in Argentina, News Product Alliance, RevLab, International Journalism Festival of Perugia, who's going to be hosting all of the videos from this week on their YouTube channel. Thank you again to IJF. And this is just a handful of the organizations we have had the opportunity to work with. And so these are the people who will sort of keep this work going. And a big thank you to Outriders, who, if they weren't helping to produce the event, you would have heard from this week as well. But they have done an incredible job working across many time zones. I think we had something like 45 people speaking at the summit in some capacity, and the Outriders team kept all of that running behind the scenes. If it had been us doing it on our own, you might have had a series of 1-hour panel discussions. But the Outriders team brought all of their event planning knowledge to us and helped us think about how to structure the sessions, how to make it dynamic, how to make it interesting, how to keep it flowing. So thank you to the Outriders team for this. And also thank you if you've been following along for the summit on social media. A huge thanks goes to Nabila Shabir, who has been behind the scenes tweeting everything that we've been learning from these sessions. So thank you, Nabila, as well, for being with us this week.
Finally, I want to share this message, this insight as the founder of Membership Puzzle Project, and underline it as sort of a parting wisdom to our community. I'm not worried that rich and powerful people around the world won't have journalism to inform them. The rich and the powerful will always find ways to get the information they need to maintain their influence. Emperors create their own news systems. Governments create their own news systems. Businesses can afford the $5,000 a year newsletter focused on their concerns. What's at stake in the conversation that we've been having over the last few days is whether the public will have the information that it needs to defend its interests. And we are in a situation with the evolution of the media industry and its economy, where it's very possible for the information a public needs to do its business to drift behind paywalls and become largely inaccessible to, if not most people, many people. And that is a major threat, because the business model problem in journalism remains unsolved, but there's an emerging consensus that it's going to be solved through reader revenue. But reader revenue has two streams, two directions it can go in. One is towards charging more and more and making news more and more expensive and hidden behind a paywall. And the other way reader revenue can develop is through membership, where you join the cause because you believe in the work and you want that work to spread to as many people as possible and be accessible to the public. And so we're asking you to participate in a fight that's bigger than just the business model in journalism and bigger than just the survival of one or two newsrooms. It's really about whether there will be information for the public in the future that isn't controlled by government and isn't at the whims of a billionaire and isn't hugely expensive or cluttered with ads. And so the struggle to learn how to do membership is really the struggle for a democratic public. That's why we put 4 years of research into it. That's why you're putting even more into it. And so I just want to make that very clear, that this is a fight not for a handful of digital newsrooms, but for something much larger than that.
Thanks, Jay. Thank you, everybody. Jay has a celebratory celebratory moment for Membership Puzzle Project and for everybody who has joined us in the last few years to share their work.
Stand back.
Drum roll.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trusting that Jay says he's very good at this. We're really gambling on the fact that he
I used to
remembers.
be a waiter in restaurants all over New York City.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I
Oh,
unmuted
yay.
It's little bubbles like that.
So, thanks everybody for indulging us in that last moment. For some of you, it's an acceptable time of day for this. For others, you might be a little aghast. But thank you everybody for being with us this week, for joining us, for sharing your lessons, for keeping the work going. And we will have all of the recordings and everything from this week on the MPP site sometime next week. So please share everything that you have with your colleagues, and please keep in touch with all of us about what you're learning. Yeah, poor Emily. We tried to figure out a way to get some champagne to her in California, but it's very early there.
Not to worry, not to worry. I just worry what happens when the video goes off, the two of you in the studio with that.
Watch out.
But a true thanks. And I just want to underscore Outriders and Ariel, amazing work this week. What a perfect way to cap off 4 years of public research.
Thank you. Jakob, can we say thank you to you on screen as well? Or are you just the voice of God for the summit?
Hello.
There he is, the mystery man from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Thank you, Jakob.
No, thank you very much. It's been a no-brainer when Ariel asked us. What was it, Ariel? 3 months ago, I think already, to do it. As I wrote in the chat, MPP has been crucial to our development. I remember, like Emily, I met you even before you made the first round of grants in New York. Then I met with Ariel, and NYU is still trying to find out who destroyed that wall, but in the building, that was my kids. But yeah, so it's been fun. Also, Piotr is here. Piotr, the backup to a backup, and the dog, which apparently made an appearance today. Anya is also in a different place right now. So no, it's been a pleasure to do it. And to all those who don't believe that digital events can be as tiring as in-person events, Ariel right now can testify that they actually can be, I think. So
we're all gonna sleep well this weekend. Yes. Glad it's Friday, and
yes.
Yeah.
And to all the people in the chat who are well wishers, we really thank you for your kind words.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I think we will sign off and let folks go about their end of week and get their weekend started. Thank you, Ned, Alec, Vanessa Maria. Thank you, everybody who shared. Alex Salen's in the chat. He's been with us from the beginning as well. You've read early research. You definitely read some work from Alec. Anna at Outriders as well. Thank you, Anna, for helping behind the scenes. Thank you, everybody. I mean, just endless thanks. MPP has really just been a synthesis of the work of all of the newsrooms and individuals who gave us time and let us pick their brains and then share back out what we learned. So thank you to everybody.